Hi everyone, welcome back to my new video. In this video, I'm gonna talk about my 2026 reading plans, which is a bit ambitious. I realized I have about 100 books added to my TBR, which is weird to me because I cannot read more than 50 books. Like, I have never seen myself read 100 books in a year because I'm always too busy with university and work, and especially this year, which is my last year. But I'm very hopeful because I want to focus more on my reading journey, so I will be able to read more books this year. And now that I have my YouTube channel, I have the passion to read more books and talk about more books with my subscribers. So I have more things to tell you guys. So my TBR has 6 sections and they are kind of categorized in different sections, so it would be easier to talk about. The first section is the classic books. I feel like it's been a minute since I read a good classic, so I'm planning on reading a bunch of classics this year and bring back the old vibes, you know what I'm saying? The first classic in my TBR is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. So when I tell you I have no information about the book, I'm not kidding. Because I'm afraid if I know too much about it, I will be spoiled and I don't have the passion to read it. And my edition of it, I mean, it's not my edition. I borrowed it from the library, that's why it looks a bit rough. My edition of it is like 600, and God knows what happens if I get spoiled. Like, how am I able to read 500, 600 pages when I'm spoiled? The next one is A Midsummer Night's Dream by William Shakespeare. So it's a play, and when I was researching about it, it said, imagine throwing love triangle, betrayal, and magic into a forest, and guess what happens? That's what A Midsummer Night's Dream is. And it was a bit confusing when I was reading the synopsises, so I'm confused now and I can't wait to see what happens in this book. It's probably the first book I'm gonna read in 2026. I'm not sure if it would be Wisteria or A Midsummer Night's Dream because they're both in my winter TBR and I'm excited for both of them. So we will see what happens. The story takes place between the town Athen and the magical forest, where you cannot tell the difference between reality and magic. And it sounds right up my alley. I mean, I don't read a bunch of plays, but when I was reading about A Midsummer Night's Dream, it catched my eyes in the first glance. So this is something I'm sure would match my personality, and if it doesn't, I'm gonna be so disappointed, and I'm not sure if I will be able to read more plays because this is my top priority on the plays I want to read based on my taste. So I'm very hopeful about it. The next book is called A Lily of the Valley by a French author, which I'm not sure about his name, how to pronounce it, but I think it's Honoré de Balzac. He's a French author whom I've never read anything from, and I can't wait to see if I enjoy his books and his writing or not because he has a bunch of good classics and he is known for writing so many good romance classics. I'm someone who likes to read romance classics, so I can't wait to see if I like his works or absolutely hate it. I'm so afraid that it will be something in the middle and where I don't know how to feel about an author. But if I didn't enjoy A Lily of the Valley, I'm planning on reading another book of him next year, hopefully, because I have quite a TBR this year, hopefully next year. But I'm kind of sure I'm gonna enjoy his works because I was reading a part of his works in TikTok. It was a part of A Lily of the Valley, and it was so intimidating. Like, I wanted to read it ASAP, but we have to wait. I have other books in my TBR that I'm gonna read first, but Lily of the Valley is so intimidating and it brings you to read it so fast. I'm pretty sure it was a tragic love story, but I can't wait to see how the story unfolds and how I feel about the book because Lily of the Valley, I mean, the name, the cover, when I was checking it, it was so much my taste. So I hope the whole concept of it would match my taste as well because I don't want to hate classics. I don't want to hate any books. So hopefully I will like it. very hopeful when it comes to classics because there is something about old authors. They know what to write. So it will be poetic and enjoyable at the same time. So I've spent the past few years reading fantasy, so I hope I will enjoy the classics of this year and read a bunch of classics next year as well, because when you read classics, people assume you're knowledgeable, you're educated, but that's not the reason I want to read classics. I want to have experience in different worlds, different books. So when it comes to different authors, I have something to say. People assume you're educated and knowledgeable if you know so much about classics, which is something I don't truly believe. I believe someone who has a nice journey, a nice experience with different books and gets invested in them in depth is something who is like knowledgeable and educated, because when you experience different lives in different books, you have the experience in your mind and you know something about that time of the year, that people, that society. So that's something precious that I want to earn. The next book is called The Black Tulip by Alexander Dumas. We all know Alexander Dumas by his famous works like The Three Musketeers or Count of Monte Cristo, which was my favorites when I was a teenage. So I can't wait to see if I like The Black Tulip as well. I believe there is a movie made from his work, which I haven't watched yet, and I'm not sure if I should read the book first and after that watch the movie. But I'm excited to see. But I believe my favorite actor of all time, Alain Delon, has acted in the movie. So I'm so excited to watch the movie, but I want to read the book first. Black Tulip was something I wanted to read so badly when I was a teenage, but then I get invested in the fantasy and like dropped reading classics. So when I came back, I thought it would be the best choice to read Black Tulip first, because when you've read other books from an author and you've enjoyed them, you're more hopeful to enjoy the next read as well. So Black Tulip is something I'm kind of sure I'm gonna enjoy because I love Alexander Dumas' writing. Number 5 classic is Age of Innocence by Edith Wharton. So I've heard is an emotionally devastating book about love, betrayal, and understanding. So that's something I'm kind of nervous about because the whole concept of marriage and betrayal is something that scares me, to be honest. And reading about it sounds kind of scary. So I'm very hopeful that it won't emotionally sabotage me, because I'm kind of influenced by books, let's say. When I finish a book, I spend the rest of my day, maybe the rest of my week thinking about it. And it kind of has a weak effect on me. So I'm someone who is like kind of affected by the books, but not as strongly, let's say. I do think about them, but doesn't affect my life, okay? The next two books are kind of extra in my TBR. They're optional. I'm not sure if I will read them or not. I would be happy if I finish the classics and read these two extra books as well. But even if I don't, that's fine. So the first one is Castle of Otranto by Horace Walpole. I've heard it's the first ever gothic horror novel ever existed. So I'm very excited to get into it, especially in Halloween. But I have quite a TBR for Halloween. But hopefully I will fit it into the video, in my reading vlog video. But let's see what happens. I'm very curious to see what happens in these books, because when I was checking the atmosphere, the aesthetic of it, it was pretty odd and gothic. So I want to read it so bad, but at the same time, I want to read other books. So this is something optional, so keep that in mind. And the last but not least is Phantom of the Opera, which I do own a physical copy, but I forgot to bring it. But we all know Phantom of the Opera is the best gothic novel to read in Halloween. So I don't think it's an option. This is something I will definitely read in Halloween because it was in my last year TBR, but I couldn't read it, so I have to read it this year. Mind you, it's actually a reread because I read Phantom of the Opera many years ago And I did watch the movie eventually because I was kind of procrastinating and watching it. So I was kind of scared. But now I have to read it because I watched the movie and I got so disappointed. I mean, the soundtracks were amazing, but the whole story didn't really match the book. We are in the next section, the second section in my TBR. And as I've told you guys in my introduction video, I consider myself a folklorist and I want to be disgustingly educated in different folklore. As an example, Scottish folklore, which is something I enjoy reading about. And I thought, what a better idea to arrange a reading plan, a studying plan for Celtic mythology. 2026 will be the year I read and learn about Celtic mythology and Scottish folklore. And I've arranged a plan which has 4 parts, and in which part I'm gonna study a different part of Celtic mythology. The first part is the foundation and the whole orientation about the Scottish mythology, and the book I'm gonna read is by Jake Jackson, the best and the most complete book about Celtic mythology, and it has many useful information about the whole world, about everything, about the myths. The second part is the mythological cycle of Ireland. In this part, we're going to learn about the gods, the history, the important events happened in the past. And the third part is called the Ulster cycle, also known as the heroic age, in which we're going to learn about the knights, the heroes, the people who were working in Arthur's court and have been known for great things. And the last part is where we study about the magical creatures like sirens, elves, fairies. This is my favorite part. Like, I'm reading all of these to reach this point where I study magical creatures. And the third section in my TBR is kind of related to the second that we were talking about, because I'm gonna read some enchanting, whimsical books about Scottish folklore, but they're kind of fictional, you know what I'm saying? In this part, we're gonna read books with magical themes that has been inspired by Scottish mythology. Books like Uprooted and Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. I've heard it's the most Scottish folklore inspired book you can possibly read. So I had to buy it because I'm planning on reading it in winter, and we will go in depth in my reading vlog. And I will tell you guys what this book is about because I'm very excited to read it. I've heard it's the best fantasy book you can read if you love Scottish mythology. And the other books are Daughter of the Forest and An Enchantment of Ravens. And we've reached the fourth section and my favorite section of this whole TBR, because I'm gonna read some books from specific authors which I think I'm gonna enjoy. I've been spending the past few days researching about Patricia McLeod and Juliet Marillier, and I realized they wrote great things that I haven't read, which their book sounds right up my alley. When I was reading about them, I had to get the ebook ASAP. They mostly write high epic fantasy, but their books has kind of these cozy vibes that when you read it, it brings a sense of nostalgia. But because I haven't read them when I was a kid, I'm gonna read them now. They are not specifically for kids, like people from other ages can read them because like they're in high fantasy, and honestly I consider them kind of like classic fantasy because they're pretty old. The books are pretty old. My main focus from Juliet Marillier books would be the Seven Water series and the Blackthorn and Grimm trilogy. And for Patricia McLeod, there is this series called The Winter Rose, and I think it's an inspiration from a fairy tale, but she's kind of the one who writes fairy tales, not inspiring them. And she has some excellent standalones, such as A Song for Basilisk and Forgotten Beasts of Eld, which I think you've at least once heard from because her books are so famous. She's known for the mother of historical fantasy, and I can't wait to see how I feel about her books. I hope she becomes my favorite author because when I was reading about them, they sounded right up my alley. They were something I really wanted to read in a very long time, but I didn't have the knowledge and I didn't know that they existed. So now that I know, I have to find out. Her books are something I typically enjoy reading about. Same thing about Juliet Marillier. Her books are excellent. and I can't wait to see how I feel about them. I'm very hopeful, and I will let you guys know how I feel. I will definitely make a special video for each of them when I finished all of her works. If I enjoyed these books, I'm gonna read all of the things they wrote, and I will make a special video for each of them and tell you guys the whole guide to how to read their works and their books. The next author whom I'm very excited to read more books from is no one else than Leigh Bardugo. So we all know Leigh Bardugo by her famous works like Shadow and Bone, Six of Crows. Mind you, I had a big crush on Casbreaker when I was a teenager. I think I'm still haunted by him. He's still on my top priority when it comes to fictional men. Like, I have still not found anyone like him. Yes, sir, you're still in my heart. First, I'm gonna read Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, and if I enjoyed it, I'm gonna read Hellbent. So I borrowed this one from the library, and I thought, what should I do if I enjoyed it? I had to, because I hate not completing a series, as I told you. So when I read something, I need to finish it. Other book I'm gonna read from her is The Familiar, which I've heard has this dark magical vibe, but I haven't read anything about it. I'm very excited to see how I feel it, because it has this vintage vibe, which is something I enjoy in books. I mean, I enjoyed it in Belladonna. Hopefully, I will enjoy it in The Familiar as well. The last section that I'm very, very nervous about is completing my series. In this section, I'm gonna read the books. As an example, the Bloodstone series. So I've read the first book last year. I mean, it would be a year in 2 or 3 months. It's not a year yet, but I'm gonna read it. I think it's Hunger of the Gods and Fury of the Gods. I have to read these books from the Bloodstone trilogy. The next trilogy that I have to finish is The Monsters. So I read the first book called Only a Monster. Now I have to read Never a Hero, Once a Villain. So I'm not gonna finish it, but at least I'm gonna read the second book. Not sure about the third one, but if I get the chance, why not? Let's not forget about Belladonna series by Adeline Grace. I read Foxglove last year in the last minute, and I have to read Wisteria this winter. I'm very excited to see how I feel about it and see how the story unfolds. I'm kind of scared to see what happens in the last book, because when you finish a trilogy, you get haunted by the thought of it. You think about it for months, for weeks, I don't know, but I'm someone that can't stop thinking about the books they've recently read, so I have to finish it. But I'm emotionally attached to the series, but at the same time, I'm glad to be successful in finishing different series. So we shall see. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe and leave your comments. I will read all of your comments. Thank you.